NYC.
Yeah, baby. Spring has sprung. Spring has sprung. Let's go Mets, by the way. Our Metsies are looking great. Shout out to all my Mets fans. And hello, Yankee fans. How you doing? It's your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. Just a little out of breath. Had to run down to get some more water and some coffee. I mean, it's 10 a.m., so I'm on my third cup of Joe. Let's get moving, though, right? Every single week on the show, we do a couple things. Well, first, I make the trek all the way up from the kitchen, 2 flighs below where I'm standing right now. And I go all the way up to the attic. You know, that little place just below the roof of my house. The attic, 200 and some odd episodes of an idea. It was just an idea. I went around telling people it had a logo, it had a name, and it had 0 episodes. I went around telling people philanthropy and focus, and here's what it's going to be. And now I can say philanthropy and focus, and here's what it is. My point to you all, if you have the idea for that thing, that activity, just do it. Forget about that sneaker brand. I'm telling you, just do it. Get out there, lean in, try it out. Something's going to happen. It might not be exactly how you planned it, probably won't be, but you're going to learn something, you're going to experience something, and you're going to have change. And that's what it's all about. It's about change and evolution. So every week I come up here, I do this show, and I get to help nonprofit leaders tell their story and amplify their message. A lot going on in the world. Next week is the Long Island Imagine Awards. The applications are out for the New York City Imagine Awards. I can't tell you. I mean, I was looking before at photos in my phone. Somebody said to me the other day, Tommy D, you do so much. I see all these things on LinkedIn. I said, if I had the time to post the other half of the things I do, then there would be even more out there. I just can't keep up with all the things I'm doing. But that's what happens. You want to be the nonprofit sector connector, man. That's just how it goes. You make something up and you do it and you're busy. And guess what? Yesterday, I'm at a Kiwanis meeting because Book Fairies was coming through in my neighborhood. The other night, I'm at another event for a nonprofit organization. I gave a $5,000 check from the Lindy Lou Foundation to my friend Christine Fitzpatrick at League of Yes, an inclusive baseball league, 2 fields, Eisenhower Park, Nassau County, and then out in Farmingville, they have another field. All Abilities Baseball League. Everybody should have access to baseball. And I said it already, but I mean, how about that baseball club out in Flushing? I'm wondering what you're thinking. Give me a hard time if you're a Yankee fan. Actually, let's go. Let's just have fun. All right. Greg Ingino is here. Danielle Barry is here. The organization is Woodward. We're going to get into this conversation. We're going to talk. There's a lot of history in this organization. I happen to see, if you're just listening, I'm looking at Danielle and Greg sitting in the conference room at Woodward over in Freeport. Actually, we said Book Fairy, so shout out to Freeport for sure. I have some history out in Freeport Rec Center. So there used to be hockey down there. Is there still hockey? They still have the big bubble? Yeah, Greg, Danielle saying yes. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to have Greg and Danielle introduce themselves. Like I said, I was in the conference room, learned a lot about this organization. There's history, there's legacy, and there's impact. And that's the people I like to hang around with. So if you're checking in and you are seeing us on one of the platforms live, drop us a note, ask me any questions if you want to. Greg, Danielle, good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everything good?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tommy, for having us on. We
Well,
appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for, you've just recently invited me to an event a couple weeks ago. I actually met somebody who's really cool, who now I'm collaborating with, who you know for a long time, probably most of her life. Our friend Melissa, shout out to Melissa because she is going to be doing some cool collaboration. And if you didn't invite me to that Chamber of Commerce event recently, we wouldn't have made that connection. So it's all about connections. I appreciate you both being here. And Greg, we met originally when I was emceeing the it was called Philanthropy Day for the Association for Fundraising Professionals, Long Island. And Barry Vogel handed me your card. He goes, I'm not Greg Ingino, but you got to meet Greg Ingino. I said, all right, whatever you say, man. Sounds good to me. Don't threaten me with a good time. And now we're becoming fast friends. It's very good to meet you then, and it's good to be collaborating with you now. So let's get into this. Let's talk about, I want to know about your backgrounds. I do have notes and stuff like that, but I always say I want to hear the story from the people who live the story. So Greg, however you want to play or pass. That's what I do sometimes at networking events. So either you can go first or Danielle can go first. Just your background. Danielle, you want to take it away? Give us your story, and then we'll hear some of Greg's story, and then we'll hear about Woodward.
Yeah, so my name's Danielle Barry, as Tommy had said. I've been at Woodward now going on my 15th year. I could not picture myself working anywhere else or serving anywhere else. When I first interviewed here, the population of students was much different. And I remember I went on an interview here and I went on an interview somewhere else. And when I went home, my mom's like, "You can't take that job. Those kids, no, you can't do it." I was like, "I'm gonna do it."
Hmm.
And I did, and I never looked back. And throughout my time here, I've served many different positions. So I started out in the classroom, really in the thick of it. And then from there, I moved into doing more reading intervention and doing more testing. And then I was fortunate enough to move into the position of intake coordinator, and more recently, coordinator of the program, where now I'm wearing multiple hats and really supporting the staff here and the students, working closely with the families as well as the districts. And I feel like I found my place here. And what I most like to do is, that collaboration with others.
I love that. What's your background? What did you study in school? How did you get, I mean, were you always focused on education? Did you know this is how you'd, end up some way in education?
Yes, so my mom worked in a school, so I feel like that's kind of what I knew. And then I did always enjoy the idea of being a teacher, and that's my background. I went to school for general ed and special education. And when I was younger, I have a younger sister, and we used to always play school. And now it's a running joke because I always had to be the teacher, and I'd send her upstairs with homework. And we still talk about it now. She'd be like, "You were giving me all this homework." So it's just something I've always had a passion for.
I gotta ask you, hold on a second, because I'm hearing something, and who's older, you or your sister?
All older.
So I feel like look, I'm not trying to project here, but I'm hearing a little older sister just wants the little sister to go away for a while. So you give her some homework and then you go do whatever you want. You go watch TV, you go read a book, go for a bike ride. It's like, is that kind of what's going on there? A little bit.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel like I always knew I wanted to work with kids, I wanted to help others. I went to school, I dormed for a week and hated it, and then I ended up being a commuter at CW Post, and then from there, I transferred to St. Joseph's College, their teaching program, highly recommend. And I was there, I got my degree, and then I moved on to Stony Brook for my master's.
Love that. I love that. So you got Post, St. Joe's, and then shout out to the SUNY system. I mean, there's so much great opportunity. I try to promote that here on the show, not like on purpose, but when it happens. I graduated from Chaminade High School here on Long Island. I went to Nassau Community College, went to Baruch in the city, didn't finish there, and ended up finishing out at SUNY Old Westbury. But you got CUNY, you got SUNY. And I don't want to say this because this sometimes has like a negative connotation, but like what a bargain, but like what's a better way to say it? What a great deal to get an incredible education, and commuting. When you commute, that's great too. You don't have to pay for room and board. I'm kind of like a bit of a mama's boy, I guess, so I didn't go away to school, although I kind of thought I would. I never did. Um, I don't think I've left Long Island for more than like 7 days in a row, like in 47 years, my whole life. So what a great story, Danielle, and giving your little sister a hard time about the whole thing. I hope she's listening. Hello there. But that's fun stuff, and that's the things that create our story. So we're gonna get back into the Woodward story and what's so passionate about. And you mentioned this thing like those kids, like I mean that this we on this world where we hang out, you and me, right? It's all about inclusion. It's all about different abilities. We all have different abilities. Folks who listen to this show know your boy's got a bit of the ADHD, just a touch of the ADHD. And I kid because I got it for real all the way through. But the thing about it is we're all, I believe, neurodivergent, neurodiverse. It's a spectrum. We all learn differently, right? I don't know not to knock what you said earlier, but general ed, like I don't know if that's a thing anymore, right? No offense to programs and what you said there, but it's sort of like you met one person. I was at an event with Nassau County. County Executive Bruce Blakeman. The other day, they were lighting the lights in the county building for autism awareness. And, the county executive says, you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. You meet one person with anything, you meet one individual human being. I believe, like, this is real. When we put people in groups, period, that's not a good thing. And we start to address people as, well, they fit in that group, they're a part. No, we're all individual people. Talk about an individual person. What's up, Greg Ingino? Let's get into it with you. See, that's a segue. That's what us people in the business call out, like a segue. What's good?
Well, my journey started about 45 years ago. I was a preschool, elementary school teacher out in Mastic. And at the time, I was in the process of getting married. And it was difficult at that time to get any type of teaching position. And I wound up coming to Woodward on an interview. It was a tremendous different environment. At the time back then, we were dealing with more type of conduct disorder students. So it was a little culture shock for me. But one of the things that I realized is that I guess it was a calling. I felt that I really wanted to help these students. Especially when I got to really know them. They were all great kids. And sometimes the circumstances, their family life, adds to a lot of different conflicts that they have or hinders the educational process. So when I came to Woodward, I was an elementary school teacher and I wound up getting my special ed license. And I decided to stay. Growing up, I also had a lot of culinary experience. I worked in a restaurant 13 years. I wound up going up to an assistant chef in various restaurants. And I was able to utilize those skills in teaching math, kind of being able to teach outside of the box. So I would take the kids down to our culinary area and be able to teach fractions by using measurements and cooking activities. And I really got to get the kids to learn without them realizing they were really learning.
Isn't that the trick, Greg? Isn't that such a, like, you're very sneaky, Greg. I've heard that. But like, but isn't that the thing? I mean, like, I'm seeing you and I've seen the culinary area there when I came for a tour a couple weeks back. And for me, it's like you get to, oh, I'm doing an activity, right? And I'm enjoying this activity, right? Maybe I'm learning how to follow a recipe or how to utilize the different appliances, whatever it might be. And like we're sneaking in education. And that's so cool because there's something to the practical doing of something versus textbook stuff. And I mentioned the way I got this as one of my coaches calls it a beautiful brain. Those of us who have different brain types calls it your beautiful brain, Tommy D. And anytime you call my brain beautiful, I like you, I become your friend. But that's like a thing, like we all learn differently, and many of us learn like from that, just doing the thing. And I will tell you something, Greg, I gotta make a little anecdote because I did not know you were in the restaurant business. I grew up in the restaurant business. My uncle owned a place in Floral Park. He was a New York City fireman, or retired now, but called Halligan's in Floral Park. Shout out to Halligan's. My wife and I met there, in fact. So it was the kind of place for about a decade. I would just, even if I wasn't working, I'd have to like just spin by and like say hello to people. Like it's like Cheers a little bit. That if you know, gang, if you don't know what Cheers is, Google it. It's a show from the 80s and 90s. Sorry, we're losing some of the young people here. But that was a big part of my life, and I always thought about becoming a chef. And you know why? I'll tell you why I did not become a chef. Little secret. I like to connect with people, and I like when people like me. And way before Chef Ramsay and all these people are on TV, a handful of chefs I worked with were kind of, how do I say this, jerks. And like, we're not nice to people, and people didn't like them. And I said, I don't want to be that guy. So like I consider Johnson and Wales, I consider going to Culinary Institute up, Hyde Park and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, I didn't do it. I'm telling you why. Looking back, it could have been something fun, and who knows where that would have went. But we all have these journeys and these paths. I want to get into, we got to go to break in a sec. When we come back, I really want to get into, because there's a lot of history of this organization. And behind you, you have a picture, and we can talk about who's in that picture and kind of the legacy of this organization. And then I want to hear, once we go to that, we'll hear about the students that you impact. I unfortunately missed the Whiz a couple weeks ago, although I knew it was coming up. I could not, with my schedule, get down to Freeport for the showing. It's spring. Yeah, softball, baseball, flag football, lacrosse, 4 children. It's a lot. So it's trying to finagle a lot of the different things didn't work. But I want to hear about all that and the programming and almost like we can go through sort of the tour of the facility without getting up from our chairs. I mean, I'm standing, but without you all getting up and walking around, take us through programs and things like that. And then we'll get into, how we can help and how my network can be impactful. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
All right, very cool. Everybody, you know who it is. It's your boy, the nonprofit sector connector. I did that yesterday. I was telling my wife, I go nonprofit sector, and I waited like 15 or 20 seconds. And she's like, but just come on, man. Would you stop? But I am the one and only nonprofit sector connector. The show is called Philanthropy and Focus. We're taking a quick break. We come back. We're going to dive into the history of Woodward. We're going to talk about the impact that it's making on these young people. And really, the thing that hit me too, I was vocational things. And you talk about the culinary thing, but there was so much vocational, stuff that I saw throughout the building. I mean, they were making, I'm looking for my mug. They were making mugs, these young people. So shout out, this mug says, when it rains, look for rainbows. Shout out, let's go. But they were making these cool mugs. And I think I asked your folks to brand some mugs. We're going to do pictures and have the folks over at Woodward make a project, a little Tommy D project. He's trying to go to commercial and he tells a story on the commercial break. We will be right back, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. Go through the static, join Tommy in his attic. That's what we do. Every single Friday morning, I bring you another nonprofit organization so we can focus on the important work they're doing. I got to read a little bit for you. I can read. Shout out to reading. Let's just stop for a second. Met with my friends from Book Fairies. They got a big event coming up in a couple weeks. It's going to be at Hofstra University. It is the Amazing Race for Book Fairies. I interviewed Kellyanne Serini and Eileen Minogue just last week on a new show called Cool Collabs. I just made that up the other day, and I thought it was cool to see how Serini and Associates collaborates with Book Fairies. But, literacy is incredibly important as it is a social determinant of how somebody's trajectory of their life goes, their income goes, their future goes. And Book Fairies is really impacting that. So here's my reading. The founding of Woodward Children's Center can be traced to Freeport resident Gertrude K. Berman, who established a school in 1951 that was originally named for her. It was later incorporated with the name honoring Dr. Luther E. Woodward, a noted specialist in the New York State Mental Health Department, who had been supportive of her early efforts to develop the school. As a creator and executive director of the program and school that became Woodward, Gertrude Berman became a pioneer in developing special education and mental health services for youth with severe emotional and educational disabilities, and an advocate for early identification of and treatment for infantile autism. So I talk a lot about, we talk about here on the show and just everywhere I go about different populations. We talked about it a little bit already, but I'm about hashtag ending the stigma around this conversation about mental health. We must give people access. It's not when I'm talking about people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, I always believe it's not about ability when it comes to vocation and opportunity. I know it's about access. And it makes me think about Spirit of Huntington Art Center and our Artworks program and all these different nonprofits that are doing this important work. Greg, if you wouldn't mind, take me to this place. Take me to this place. Take me to this place of Ms. Berman and that story. And that's Ms. Berman in the background, right? That's Gertrude in the
Yes, yes.
yeah. So tell us about this.
She was a pioneer in the field. She was a special ed teacher in New York City. And then she decided to open her own school in the Freeport area, right down the block from Woodward. And she became an expert in working with students that the school districts didn't know how to work with. And she believed so much, and her passion was so much into these kids learning, that they started to believe it themselves, that they could be a success. Most of the school districts back then, they felt that kids were just like juvenile delinquents. And they just wanted to shut them off and send them to different various programs. So she wound up taking about 8 to 10 of them. She was able to get a house, and she called it the Berman School, and residents of Freeport helped to build the house, refurbish it, and that became the school. The word got out that she was a super success working with this type of population, and it grew. In fact, one of the famous TV actors, Cliff Robinson, you might remember him from Westerns, or he played John F. Kennedy in PT 109.
Okay.
He must have got wind of her success working with these challenges. I don't know the exact connection, how they finally got together. I'm sure it was some type of networking. She was a tremendous networker. And he fundraised with her back then a few $1 million. And back in 1973 and 1976, they built Woodward. That's what it looked like back then. And this corner picture is what we look like now.
Yep.
The program's been in place now for 67 years. It's thriving. We're taking it to a new level. It's one of the most progressive and innovative programs in the New York area, which I guess we can get into.
Get into that for sure. Yeah, we're gonna get into that, Greg. That's great. You know what it is too. I think of the time frame you're talking about too, and I feel like as a society and as a race of human beings, we've evolved in a lot of ways, and then sometimes I see things on the news. I just watched a video this morning. I'm not going to get into the politics of this whole thing, but on a national stage, so we're not exactly saying the best things about certain parts of our population right now. I feel like we've progressed in so many ways, certainly as it's addressing the needs of individuals with IDD. I'm also on the Long Island Advisory Board for Best Buddies of New York, so we're doing a lot of work in this space. We got a big friendship walk. In fact, maybe some of the folks listening want to come out May 10th at Marjorie Post Park down Massapequa. I feel like we progressed in a lot of ways, and it makes me think. You mentioned pioneer, and I think of people. I think people like Vicky Schneps, going back to life's work, and with Geraldo and Willowbrook and some of the stories that certainly had national reach and things like that. And I think of another friend of mine, Dr. Ellen Morris Tiegerman from Tiegerman, which used to be SCLD up here in the North Shore area where the attic is. And it's people who got out there and did the work and were on the front lines and said, this is not okay. This is not the way these young people have abilities. We need to find out what their abilities are, and we need to meet them where they are. And I feel like that meet them where they are is said so much, and it's cliche. And I think things are cliche. Well, we say them so many times because they actually have meaning. And if we meet people where they are and bring them the services that they need, well, then we excel and they excel, right, Danielle? I mean, you're educated in special education and general education. Now, let's talk about that. I mean, just in terms of meeting people where they are.
Yeah, I think that's something that we really thrive at here, is seeing each student for an individual and building upon their strengths and their weaknesses and not grouping everyone together that they're all the same. You know, it's making an individual pathway for each student. Do they do better working out in the community? Do they do better doing hands-on tasks? Do they do better listening to something rather than writing something? And just really honing in on to what works for them and meeting them where they are and treating them like an individual, not that everyone's the same.
Yeah, and I know a little bit about IEPs and some of those meetings. I've representing some of my own children. I've been in those meetings, and I always feel like we're not asking for what we don't need here. We're asking for accommodations because that's what's appropriate for this individual. Raising 4 kids, I got 4 different kids just because they share the last name. They are super different, and they all live in the same house, right? And they're all mine and my wife's. But that doesn't make them the same, right? And their abilities aren't the same. And so, talk to me about, Greg, when I came out for a tour, it was these young people are coming from all over, around Long Island, from the 5 boroughs. Let's talk about that. Like how do young people get access to Woodward, and how do you determine who is going to make the trip, so to speak?
Yes, so we are an out-of-district placement, and all of the students that attend here come from a home district. And all of our students have an IEP, like you were speaking about, and it's as a result of one of those IEP meetings where the district basically says, we can't provide the level of support, the individualized support that you need to be successful. So then they send out the IEP to various other non-public schools such as us. If we get the packet and they're like, you know what, I think we could service this student, we could meet them where they need to be, provide the supports, we'll invite them in for a screening, and if it's a good fit and we have the space, then we'll accept them into our program.
I love that. So what did you call it? An out-of-district school? Is that how you...
Yeah, out-of-district placement.
Out-of-district placement. So gang, I got to drop it. Those of us, we talking acronyms, and I got to bring you this one: individualized education program, right? That brings, that comes through an assessment with the district. Let me just tell you this. Here he goes now. He's got the soapbox. Here's the deal. You as a parent, you as a family, you have rights, okay? You have specific rights. I'm not an advocate for other people's kids, meaning I can't go to an IEP meeting with you, and I'm not trying to beat up on districts, but I will tell you this: if your child needs additional services, whatever it is, there's assessments that can be done. Stick up for your kid, know you have rights, and know you can go to battle. And I don't want it to be a battle. It's not a battle when I go into these meetings, because I'm like, hey man, we all want what's best for my child. We all do, right? And they do mainly, right? But at times the answer becomes no first. And I think we have to be collaborative. And this is one guy's opinion, and I'm not an advocate, I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you this. We need to make friends in these meetings. We need to make connections. I use the word I shouldn't have used. It's not a battle. It shouldn't be a battle. I'm gonna edit myself right here live on the show. It should be a collaborative conversation. And then if it gets to a point where the district, it does not have the ability, accessibility, opportunity, whatever it is, to provide for that individual student, then there's out-of-district placements like you're talking about at Woodward. So I cleaned that up a little bit, gang, because I don't want anybody fighting. Man, I'm all about love, baby. So, but it's about knowing your rights. So, right? So just from being parents here, that, thinking in terms of, we have to advocate on behalf of our children and get them what they need. And then it goes to that next level of advocating on behalf of, in your case, your students, and getting them the services they need. How do you guys want to cover, somebody want to cover a little bit of that?
Well, I think just to add on to what you're saying, the parents, when they come to a meeting, they should have questions. And then they should really ask, whether it be the principal or the CSEs, okay, these are the services my child needs, how can you help me? And you want to work together for the best interest of the child.
Yeah, collaboratively, 100%. I the thing that gets me sometimes, though, and I think that's why I get a little bit tough about it, is because I feel like some families don't realize that they have this right, and that the district has the obligation, right? So, I've been in this space for a long time with different nonprofits and stuff, and sometimes it's not fair because people don't know what their rights are. I can't answer what all your rights are, gang, but I can say that we do know people. So if you want more information about this type of stuff, send me an email and I'll connect you with some attorneys, folks I know, and advocates that I know. And there's plenty of people that are there to support you and educate you. The thing too, sometimes families from different communities who English might not be their first language and things like that, again, at a disadvantage if you have a child who has these needs. Did not expect to get on a rant, Danielle and Greg, but sometimes just go with the flow. It's what happens. But gang, if you have questions, Tommy D at philanthropy and focus.com, Phocus. That's how you spell focus, at least here in the attic. That's how we spell it. All right, I think it's time for us to split, take another break, which is just how this show goes. We talk, we break, we talk, we break. We always run out of time. We never run out of words. We will be right back. We're going to get more into programming, what it looks like, talk about vocational stuff. The name of the school is Woodward. The name of the guy is Tommy D. My guests are Danielle and Greg. Right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Thing has sprung. It really has. I mean, I ran out to a meeting yesterday. I was saying the Kiwanis here locally and the and book fairies, and I didn't want to put shoes on, so I was digging around and I found a pair of flip flops. Flops are back, everybody. You know it is flip flop weather on Long Island. The Hawaiian shirts are back. If we get a bit of a frost again, I'm gonna be very upset about it. You know, I probably will wear my flip flops anyway, but I just think like. This is what's cool about being on this island. We get all the weather, and this is my favorite season. One challenge going on, I don't know if anybody else is experiencing it. My younger son is dealing with the allergies pretty bad. I don't know if Danielle, if that's hitting you or Greg or some of the kids and stuff, but it's pretty brutal right now. Yeah.
Live for the summer. I'm with you, Tommy.
It's like there's that, like this is the coolest time of year, this and like that fall. This, you know, I'll tell you a funny story in a second, but it's just like this is a tough time because of the allergies, but then we smooth right into the summer, that sort of goes away, you know. But the thing is, like years and years ago, I got a little secret for everybody. Years and years ago, I used to I didn't realize how beautiful September and October was here, like in on Long Island, and then especially like even if you go upstate a little bit too. And I didn't realize it because there was a reason when I was younger why I didn't look forward to September, and you probably can guess what it is, right? But I didn't realize until I was like in my mid-20s and go, wow, this is a beautiful time of year. Well, why didn't I always like this? Because it always meant we were going back to school. So that was like I discounted how great this time of year was. Let's talk about how great the school is, the work you're doing. We talk about meeting young people where they are. Talk about when folks are going to graduate. Do they graduate with traditional diploma, regents or not regents, like stuff like that. And then I'd love to get into vocational work, and as I said, kind of in our mind, go on a virtual tour of the facility at the different programs and stuff. How's that sound?
So getting back to everything being individualized when it comes to graduation, same thing that way. There's different pathways. So most of our students do leave here with either a Regents or a local diploma. Being that our students have an IEP, there's a little bit of flexibility on their Regents scores that they can get. But as far as the classes, they are taking those same Regents level courses that they would be at their home public school. Our electives are a little different. I like to think that our elective classes are a little more hands-on, more vocationally based. And then we also have something here called our CDOS program. And that is gaining work-based learning hours out in the community, here in the building, in the classroom, And how it works is that those hours can kind of compensate for a student if they might not do so well on a Regents exam. So once again, individualized various pathways for students to earn their diploma. And then we do help with post-secondary planning. So that's different for every student, whether that be going on to a 2-year college, a 4-year college, going on to job placement. So we feel that every student before they leave here should be set up for some sort of success. We should be helping them figure out, what they are good at and how it relates to something after graduation and setting them up for success.
I love that. What was that acronym you used? CDOS?
CDOS.
And what does that stand for?
Putting me on the spot. I'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you. It's all good. I got Google too. We'll figure it out. But what I want to say there is I can't help myself sometimes. We gotta get you connected to the Spirit of Huntington Art Center because I'm Googling this right now. Career Development and Occupational Studies. That's what it is. Career Development and Occupational Studies. Like Spirit of Huntington Art Center, we have an artworks program for our individuals. When I say that, I mean our community of folks with different abilities, right? It is a all abilities art center, community art center. However, artworks is a program. Once our individuals age out of 21, sometimes there's where do we go? What do we do next? Artworks is a program where individuals will learn website design, digital marketing, Adobe, that whole suite of products. And in fact, our agency, Vanguard Benefits, go to the website, gang, Vanguard Benefits, YOU.com. But our website and our mission, our vision, our value, our logo, it was created by a neurodiverse marketing department, which is Spirit of Huntington. So I would love to make that connection because some of your folks who might be interested in the arts could plug into some of the programming at Spirit. In fact, this afternoon, I'm interviewing my friend and colleague, James Young, who's a creative director. He's going to be on Long Island Changemakers today. And we're going to be talking about two things. We're going to be talking about him as the creative director of Spirit Huntington, but he also is a member of a band called the Time Traveling Trio, and they donate money back to nonprofit organizations. So little plug, next week I'm doing a wine tasting. His band is going to be playing, and my friend Deborah is going to be bringing puppies from Positive Possibilities. That's a whole thing. If you tour around, it's May 1st. We'll talk about it later on. But that's going to be fun because you got puppies, you got music, you got a little bit of wine for those who drink. I don't, but others do. And that's it's going to be fun little networking. And that's actually at the studio, North Shore TV. All right, back to Woodward. So I shared the website for Woodward. So the website, I shared it during a break. Go to woodwardchildren.org, woodwardchildren.org. Post-secondary, we talked about post-secondary planning. I want to talk more about that. Greg, what does that look like from your perspective to have that planning? Because it goes to what I said about Spirit of Huntington, but specifically for your space, like, some folks may be college bound, some folks may not be college bound. Some folks, we talk about your focus, Danielle mentioned there, the focus on vocation and what that looks like, which, look, I think the earlier we can expose people, young people, to different opportunities, regardless of ability or disability or lack of ability, just focus. Like my friend Beth Buckheister runs an organization here on Long Island called Career Day Inc. And they go into schools and they bring professionals in to speak at schools to say, hey, I'm in aviation, right? I'm in the culinary arts. I'm a psychotherapist. And I think what's important too is representation. To see people who look like each other in those roles is really important for all of us. So I'm going all over the map, but I'm leaning towards vocation. So Greg, you want to pick some of that up?
Well, I think Woodward, the vocational program, is really one of the key elements of a lot of our students, because if their academics are fair, they might still obtain their Regents diploma, but they might have a lot of other better skills. And my voice a little bit, excuse me, but we have been we try to enhance the program. I bring in, as a vice president of the Freeport Chamber of Commerce, I try to bring in numerous businesses and different chefs that are on the nautical mile to come in and teach culinary, whatever out there. We try to bring those different business partners to the students and try to bring the students to the different businesses to give them the opportunity of, learning that, hey, this is something that I can do.
Yeah.
And it's been very successful. as you know, you took a tour of the building. We welcome anyone in your audience who'd like to come and visit. When most parents come to Woodward, they basically, where do I sign up? They want their student to come here. And that's why we have students coming in from Staten Island every day. Just about 2-hour trip each day.
Yeah, that's, I mean, and forget about there's some traffic on the way back to Staten Island. I mean, I can't, you know, aside from the culinary focus, and I love the fact that you're leveraging your community, and you mentioned you being a member of the chamber. Gang, if you're leading a nonprofit organization, you certainly need to be networking in the community. If you want to find out more, reach out to me. It's pretty much what I do is network. So I think though, there's also, I know other different parts, like, I don't know what you call it. Maybe it was your STEM lab, wherever they were making the coffee mugs and they were doing some tech stuff. And it is, talk to me about the other like lanes that folks, aside from just culinary.
Well, we have ceramics. We also have a broadcasting studio. We're presently, the last 2 years, we started our own rock band. And we're putting in a music studio in our garage. Actually, every space in the building is now being utilized. What else do we have?
Well, I know there's something, this is, Danielle, you have something you'd say, and I'll write down what I was going to say. You go first.
Yes, so we try to, first of all, we have all of our students take an intro to careers class. Figure out what are the different careers that are out there. I know when I was younger, I just knew I could be a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, but there's so much more out there. And, you know, the trades are also very important. I feel like the students, you know, they might not be familiar with the different trades.
Yes. I'm going to interrupt you. Yes. Gang, we need people in the construction trades. We need plumbers. We need carpenters. We need bricklayers. And again, different abilities, neurodiverse, whatever it is, folks, if that resonates with you doing that work, those are incredible professions. And I really don't think AI is going to get underneath my sink and fix a pipe, right? But a man or a woman can get under the sink, although it's not the comfortablest place. I mean, honestly, there was something I was trying to fix in my bathroom, which is just that whole sentence isn't good. Tommy's going to fix something in the bathroom. That's already a bad start. But like, I was trying to get something under the sink in the bathroom and couldn't shimmy it. So I called the guy who actually does that. That's his profession. So I was like, he probably knows how to figure out how to get in here or something else, but I'm not doing it. But there's so much, and that's good, honest, well-paid work, man. And, you know, I know you had in the past, and I think what I was going to say was, I think you had a mechanic shop. You still do, but that's kind of being phased out, right? You're looking to get rid of that bay, correctly? Is it like the lift? You're looking to get rid of the lift, right? So we're not at that part of the show yet, but since it's Tommy D's show, he sometimes does whatever he wants. But one of the things is they're looking to get rid of a lift. If you own a mechanic shop or something like that, reach out to me or reach out to Greg and Danielle. We'll make the connection. Might be something somebody needs. And then that would facilitate utilizing that space for something different. How about the band? When is the band playing? When can we see the band?
Well, this summer, we're going to be doing a fundraiser where we're going to be playing a radio station, and we're going to have our band playing.
Oh, is that the basketball game?
Yes, that was the basketball. Last year, we played the Freeport Police Department.
Oh,
no, Fire Department. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we will talk about that. We're obviously friends now, so you got to keep me in the loop on that stuff. Yes, Greg.
Just want to digress a little bit. I guess about 15 years ago, 17 years ago, we were down at the time. You had some financial challenges, which I'm sure every non-for-profit has. So back then, we actually turned Woodward around. It was kind of like a Field of Dreams story.
Mm-hmm.
We started running it more like a business, but we didn't have much to show. And back then, at the time, my wife had worked for Marchand Eyewear. And if you came to Woodward, it looked like it was in a time capsule back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And they donated all their furniture. So we were able to upgrade everything.
Sure.
We started working with BOCES. We had actually a competition with several school districts, and Woodward had one. We did a whole thing on Tuskegee Airmen. And I know you met Marilyn Monroe. She's actually a daughter of Colonel Ed Monroe, who was a Tuskegee Airman. And he did a seminar with us. we got a lot of recognition from that. And all of a sudden, we received some grants and we turned it around. We believe Woodward could grow again. And now we have, we have a capacity of 88 students, but basically, we've turned down 500 students since the month of July.
You've
So,
turned away 500 candidates who wanted to come to the school since July of 2024, correct? That wanted to enter the program. So that tells me that there's area of opportunity if you could find ways to, whether it be staff up, finance up, increase utilization in your space, whatever, right? Yeah. So there's no lack of need or opportunity, Greg.
No.
Yeah.
Felt that we made the program exciting enough that the kids will come, and that's exactly what happened. And that's why every year we keep building on it, which you've seen, you know, from broadcasting, ceramics. Now we're, you know, building a sound studio. We have a gentleman we brought on board who does AI, and he's doing coding. So whatever out there, Woodward has it. I feel we're one of the best equipped schools in the New York area.
I love it. Great commercial for that. What I want you to do, we're going to take a break. I want to make sure that we make this shout out to Tuka Youssef, who's my colleague, who's a program director over at We Connect the Dots. I'll introduce Greg when we're at that event on Tuesday night. I'll make sure to introduce you to Tuka. They have an upskills program for unemployed or underemployed individuals 18 years or older who are New York State residents. They have a grant. They are another nonprofit organization, but they have a grant for this upskills program, which is 4 weeks of training from 9 to 4, virtual training on different Microsoft products, and then 4 weeks of job. How would I say, a job experience? I mean, I could just look it up and read it to you all, but it's job experience where they'd be working for a company, again, unpaid unless that company wants to work out an arrangement, but it's unpaid, but it's on the job experience for individuals. So could be something as you're talking about vocation. I remember when I met the gentleman, and I think we were in the school store, and you introduced me to the gentleman who was I think running AI and the tech thing. Yeah, so I want to connect that gentleman and Tuka. So this is what happens on the show, like live connections right in real time. That's a whole nother thing. But like, we'll make that happen. We're going to go to another break. We take this last break. We come back. It's what's upcoming for, you talked about, you know, the basketball game, which I want to see the band play. What's upcoming? How can we help? How can we get connected to the organization? And before we know it, it's that'll be the end of the show, and I'll go cry because I'm going to be here all by myself until next Friday. All right, we'll be right back, gang.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Back. Danielle, Barry, Greg, and Gino left us alone. Oh my goodness. Should we talk about them? So I want to hear from you, Danielle. What's upcoming for the organization? How can we help? It's a little bit of like what's going on the next 90 days and how can we connect?
Yeah, so our next event is, well, today's actually International Day, so we're having a special lunch here. The families are invited, so looking forward to that later. And then the first Saturday in May, which I feel like is May 4th, May 4th is Radio Bingo?
I think it is May 4th. Yeah.
May 4th. Oh, nope, I lied. I'm in April. May 3rd. May 3rd, we're having a Radio Bingo event here as a fundraiser.
I just played radio. I just went to a radio bingo event with my friends at Options for Community Living a couple weeks ago. You know my friend Yolanda, Greg. So yeah. So I was I went to their radio bingo. It's super fun. And like in the middle of bingo, like I got there late because I didn't know if I could come. I had another thing. I had like 2 things that night. It was a Friday night. But Yolanda made me do the chicken dance. So you like break in the middle of it. You're playing bingo. They play a song. You check off. Oh, that song from Journey. Okay, check it off. And then they go and you got to do the chicken dance. So like it's ridiculous and fun. That's May 3rd.
May 3rd, 5 p.m. at here at Woodward. We have tons of prizes, lots of great baskets. So it's going to be a fun night.
That is.
And in the summer, we don't have a date yet, but we are planning on having a community event similar to what we had last year, where our students here will have a basketball game versus hopefully via the fire department. And we did a barbecue for that. We had some souvenir tables set up, opportunity for some students to get face painting, balloons, things like that. And then we have our graduation, which is June 26th.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great. So what do you, I always get to this point in the show and in any conversation, how can we help? What do you need? What are you looking for?
Well, I in fact, Yolanda Green from Options Community Living, she's coming in on next Tuesday. We're gonna see what we can do. Maybe there's some collaboration we could do, because like I said, at 3:20 outside of Thursday, our building is empty. And we'd love to have an after-school program or even a Saturday program.
Let's spend some time on that if we could, because we got a couple minutes. When you say at 3:20, so you're looking maybe for a partner that can utilize the space and pay rent or have programming together. Like talk to me about that.
Yeah, it could be a question that they could just be paying rent. Ideally, I would like to utilize our staff because we have clinical staff on premises and we also have vocational staff on premises. So if there'd be a way of them generating some additional income to their present salaries, it would be a home run. And then we have all these great vocational areas that people could train. We could also do, high school prep or various different subjects. We could work with different people.
Yeah, I wonder if, I mean, I'm just wondering out loud, like some of our other friends who have the Without Walls programs who serve as, adults with intellectual developmental disabilities who might need to go into the community. The only thing I wonder is like after hours, I don't know how that all works. But, I'm thinking of some of the bigs that I hang around with that certainly, Greg, when we're at the Imagine Awards, Long Island Imagine Awards Tuesday night, I mean, it's going to be like 90 different nonprofits in the room from Long Island. There's going to be almost 500 people in the room. I don't know how I'm going to get a chance to hug everybody. I'm going to do my best. But, it's just that's such an important night and a special thing. But part of the Imagine Awards is recognition. Part of the Imagine Awards is, spotlights and trophies and big checks and all that. And then the other part, which is like certainly my favorite, is all the developing relationships that happen in that room that night, that people who didn't know each other. So, and now do know each other. So that's important. What the heck's the Imagine Awards, Tommy D? Great question. Long Island Imagine Awards, go to imagineawardsli.com or reach out to me and I'll connect you with what's going on. But we recognize the important work that nonprofits serving Long Island are doing each year, founded by Ken Serini and Serini and Associates. All right. So aside from having like a dance partner, so to speak, Tommy D's words, with where you could collaborate, what else can we do to help?
Well, we're also looking for additional board members that want to share our vision and help us take Woodward to a new level, or the next level, I should say, take us to the next 67 years.
Yeah, I love that.
If there's anyone in the audience that'd be interested in becoming a board member.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's an idea of like this just comes to me sometimes, like I'm doing this event at Seven Cope in next week, and it's just like I'm putting together a handful of different people. Greg, so I'd encourage you maybe that sort of thing is just to have like in an evening one time, maybe some community leaders and maybe a little nosh and whatever it might be, and get folks out for the tour. And I'd be happy to collaborate with you on that if it's just like, hey, it's not a Tommy D event, but it's, this is a friend of mine, this organization, they do great work, and let's just go network. So look, I'm a salesman at the end of the day. So in my mind, I'm like, get them in the store, man. How do I get folks in my store? Like that's what, and I know you would, just to get me to come out, you'd reached out a couple times for us to finally make that happen. But it's like, and I encourage any of you, if you have a nonprofit organization or a for-profit, get people out there, volunteer your space. And like, I think we should talk to, in fact, later today, I'm doing several episodes of Long Island Changemakers, and our executive director, Allison LaFerlita of the Nonprofit Resource Hub is one of my guests. She and I were texting earlier. She would be a great person for you to talk to, and with Kellyanne Serini about maybe hosting an event at Woodward, because we're always looking for places to host events for our nonprofits. And if it isn't a nonprofit resource hub event, it could just be, a Danielle and Greg and Tommy D event, and we just bring people through. And like, that's what it is, because you know what? I was either writing an article or doing a video, I can't remember, but I said, I was making a post, and I said, here's another nonprofit that is the best kept secret, who doesn't want to be the best kept secret. Like it's, that's what my platforms are all about, is like, how do we shine lights and go, I didn't even know Woodward was there. 67 years. Now, my kids might think I'm 67, but I'm only 47. But like I've been in and out of Freeport for all different things in my life, and I never passed by the school. I'm sure I passed by the school. Didn't know it was there. So that's the important stuff of shining a light on the work and getting people out there. So I'd be happy to collab with you guys on that, about bringing some people in. 25, 30 people, all of a sudden they know. Greg, like for instance, when you invited me to lunch last week or 2 weeks ago, it's just all those connections. And you mentioned your colleague, Marilyn Monroe, didn't know her dad was a Tuskegee Airman. That's a whole great story. Marilyn, would love to meet you again, get you on my show, do something fun together, because there's just so much history in a story like that, as you mentioned with her dad. We're going to leave it there. Any final thoughts you all have before we head out?
No, we welcome everyone to come and visit. Love to give you a tour.
So how would they reach out? So they can go to the website, woodwardchildren.org. How else should they call?
They could just call and ask for Danielle or myself, and
Let's make it happen.
we'll make it happen.
It's happen. I love that. 516-379-0900, 516-379-0900. Woodward, 67 years, and they're just getting warmed up. See you guys. Thanks, Danielle and Greg. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.